Hello friends, trace amounts of science. Good friend of the channel, Val, has returned. She wrote the Funky Pea saga, she wrote the Married Mary saga. Now it seems that we are stumbling into Nasty Norman's saga, which I am more than delighted to get into. She's a wonderful writer, good friend of the channel, out there representing in the Party Demon t-shirt that she bought off my fourth wall. What else could we ask for, honestly? Except, I guess, for another story, and yeah, now we got that. So, thank you so much, Val. I hope you'll enjoy Nasty Norman with me. Let's jump into it right now. Nasty Norman's Hairy Summer. Yeah, forget Hot Girl Summer. We're all about Hairy Girl Summer. Welcome back, one and all, to Wellsprings. You might regret it. Sometimes moderately, maybe. But mostly it's good, though. With much enthusiasm, I am finally here to share one of the numerous nasty, nonsensical, and nauseating narratives of nerdiness and naughtiness and naziness. I'm your humble storyteller, an immortal fly who lives on the walls of the spring stage. I assure you that I often managed to hitch a ride with an unsuspecting player whenever there was a significant outing or some event that would eventually prove relevant to a potential tale of cringe. If I wasn't able to personally hitch a ride, my immortal fly family lives on lives on many a Wellsprings wall, and we tell each other everything. You guys won't miss a single iota of delicious disgustingness or putrid pit pong or green double urethral crust. Yes, we're kicking it off already, aren't we? Or, you know, just a good old-fashioned salad-tossing mishap. You like your salad tossed with margarine or jelly? You get a little peanut butter in there, mix it up. Oh, there was also Nasty Norman's inane attempts to ensnare the amorous attention of females. Females. Does he do it with like a tiny mustache man uniform or something? Thinks he looks really sharp? Truth is he does, but ladies don't talk to him because they think he's gay with all the leather. As far as Val being a fly on the wall, I think that's a really good narrative device. Otherwise, we do get a little too ensnared in the events and how people feel about them. Anyway, continuing on, OP says, I will be telling you about the shocking, stinky, and sexy shenanigans that ran amok during a summer production of Hair. Not familiar with musicals? That's okay! Most of you probably know The Age of Aquarius and Let the Sun Shine, perhaps even Good Morning Starshine. Those are the most well-known songs from our beloved musical about 1960s counterculture, the Vietnam War's effect on the young men and women of the era, and the shifting cultural attitude toward race, sexuality, and community. Oh, and drugs! Yeah, maybe those hippies weren't so bad after all, huh? We're gonna find out exactly how many hits of acid it takes to evacuate your soul. You might also know about Hair because of the infamous naked scene. Well, the scene itself turns out to not be particularly shocking, nor is it super hot, but it prompts some weirdos to engage in some extremely strange behaviors, and for that reason, it will come up. Yeah, there's plenty of weirdos in the theater community, at least as far as we've seen. There's probably plenty of good normal folk too, but we mostly hear about the weirdos. So, being a fly, I rather enjoyed rancid funk. Yes, what a melange. But most of the theater weirdos took great care to combat their body odor, even though they often worked up quite a sweat during rehearsal. Yeah, and then for showtime, you take that and double it. Here's some stage lights. We're gonna burn you to a crisp while you're extremely nervous. Occasionally, I'd be lucky enough to get a whiff of a dressing room fart, an unexpected period, or a carelessly concealed infection. I hate Fly Val all of a sudden. But my craving for genuine stank had not been sated for many years. Yes. Remember, undying fly equals endless hunger. At long last, when they held auditions for Hair, I smelled some delicious armpit fumes. It was spicy body odor. Like greasy food court Chinese food mixed with pleasingly putrid unwashed armpit. And the stinker was a tall, glamorous, staggeringly beautiful woman Actually, my bad. It was a young man with gorgeous bone structure who was dressed as a woman. Yeah, congrats on the bone structure. Sorry about the armpit stank. You win some, you lose some, right? Opie says, I'm not being insensitive. This person wasn't trans. He was a drag queen, and a fantastic one at that. He consistently referred to himself as a guy and made obnoxious references to his prized male anatomy, but he enjoyed messing with others, haughtily correcting them, whether they called him a male or a female. Yeah, that's annoying as fuck. All of a sudden, I will call you as you present, and then I will allow you one correction, and that's it. Then it's locked in forever. Deal with it. You couldn't win with this one, said OP. His masculine side was nothing but a fop doodle, and his feminine side was an insufferable, positively putrid prima donna. Yeah, all this, really, really unfortunate. Congrats on the bone structure, though. That's really great. Oh, have I landed in the introduction section? Is it up to me to introduce the story? Heck yeah! Fly time! Esteemed readers and listeners, you are cordially invited to the Freak Show. Yeah, you didn't have to pay for tickets. You can send a super chat or something if you want to. I wouldn't say no. Open invitation. So you met Thomas, the stinky drag queen. He was American, but he insisted that his name was pronounced Thomas because, yeah, he was a pretentious fucking diva. No. I think I'd just keep calling him Thomas and he'd correct me and I'd be like, I don't hear the difference. I don't know what you want me to do. He played Margaret Mead in the show and acted as a tribe member before and after his big song. Like I said, incredible drag queen, insanely fantastic voice, beautiful body odor. Well, personally, I loved his stench. The others did not care for it too much, to put it mildly. The wardrobe mistress found him particularly objectionable, as did Thomas' dressers. Dressers are basically special backstage helpers who assist the actors with quick or complicated costume changes. The dressers who had to deal with Thomas got a bump in their stipends because theater management realized how terribly unpleasant their jobs must have been. Can't you just have a guy whose job it is to, run in there and hit him with a baby powder before everybody else swoops in? It's like a F1 driver team, okay? We'll figure this thing out. And then, of course, there was Royal Schlumberger, who everybody had nicknamed Scumbanger, upon his debut at the spring stage, where he boned his way through nearly half the cast, as well as the choreographer, the set designer, the set designer's fiancé, numerous audience members, and apparently a loaf of bread. What? He was, without a doubt, a notorious pansexual playboy extraordinaire, with absolutely no soul. But he was also an incredible performer, and a staggeringly handsome man who was often irresistibly attractive to all manner of humans, so yeah, that dude got more ass than a toilet seat. Yeah, and everybody who participated in the stage play now has HPV. He managed to do it without being rude, without negging anyone, without pretending to be filthy rich or flexing in some absurd manner. He just existed, displayed his talents as a performer, and when people approached him, he knew how to make them feel special in the moment. He was genuinely charming and kind to almost everyone, that is, until his pants came off. Scumbanger's raging passions invariably cooled once he busted that nut. Yeah, the clarity kicks in. You're like, okay, I gotta get out of here. That's good. Means he feels some shame for what he's done. Hell, the truth was that he didn't even need to bust. As long as there was some sort of intimate contact, Scumbanger's passions instantly simmered down. Oh, it's anything long-term that he's terrified of. The passions would usually ramp back up, and Scumbanger would seek seconds sooner or later, seemingly out of the blue. Sometimes he got his wish. More often than not, the scorned person wanted nothing more to do with that scumbag. That's sort of hilarious to me, honestly. He's a total scumbag, and why'd you let him stick his dick in you? OP continues, though. When you don't bother to investigate further, it's easy to assume that Scumbanger's former partners refused to bed him a second time because they were offended, having been unceremoniously dismissed after they served their, usually very brief, carnal purpose. sensing not even a hint of compunction from Scumbanger. But if you talk to enough people from any given cast, a few of them will have banged some scum, and most of the former Scumbanger bangers will tell you that the boom boom was, pretty bland. Or maybe it just seemed bland because Scumbanger's charisma was so off the chain that they expected the bang to blow their minds. And when the bang was basic, well, that felt pretty disappointing. Yeah, I guess he's like, why even bother, you know? I got the job already. Everything's fine. What else do I have to prove? Anyway, the director, Kip Corbett, always cast Scumbanger as the bad boy, the dreamy anti-hero, the sexy rebel. In Hair, Scumbanger was cast as the de facto leader of the tribe, George Berger, but everyone just calls the character Berger. Seeing as Royal's actual surname was Schlumberger, the cast decided that he needed a nastier nickname. Soon enough, everyone began calling him Fuckburger, which probably won't fly in a YouTube video, but I know it can create confusion when the characters' names change, so I'll just continue to call him Scumbanger. But you'll hear other people call him all sorts of unflattering names, I'm sure. Sounds like a peach of a human being. He deserves every bit of it. As for the director, Kip, he was only odd in the sense that all musical theater directors are, yes, a bit eccentric. He tried, mostly in vain, to keep the creeps under control, but he put far too much trust in certified whack jobs. Having been immersed in the theater scene for nearly the entirety of his adult life, it was sometimes tough for Kip to tell the difference between manageable creative eccentricities and warning signs of bad actors. And when I say bad actors, I actually mean good actors who use their talents to manipulate and mislead. All that is to say, Kip is cool, but he lets a lot of the bad actors run roughshod over him. To put it less delicately, he's maybe a little bit of a wuss. Yeah, maybe. But are you really a wuss if you were, manipulated into it? I guess the difference there is, good manipulation versus intimidation. Anyway, the most bizarre character, who appears here and there throughout much of the rehearsal process, is the historical consultant, who is a non-wholesome, nasty-ass version of Norman. Oh, not Norman. Don't do this to my precious boy. We just released the compilation. Not like this. I think I'll let you guys meet Nasty Norman and watch as his myriad oddities reveal themselves. Oh, that is sure to be a real good time, isn't it? Yeah, we already know some things, and it's not looking good. So except for Kip, Norman, Thomas, and Scumbanger, we'll be referring to the people involved in this crazy summer show by their character names because, yeah, that's easier, right? And if you think you recognize some of these people from previous sagas, just know that the events of this story are barely connected to Married Mary or Funky P, so any familiar characters might as well be brand new faces. The story is, aside from a few random cameos, a standalone. So we're not getting a new saga? Oh, man. I know it's a big time commitment, though. Having said that, we've got another butt blaster in the cast. Sarcastic cheer. Yay! So let's meet Wolf. His character sings a fan favorite called Sodomy. Have a listen and see if there's so much of a snippet as the song that won't get ReddX Industries in trouble. Yeah, maybe here's a little bit of that.
Father, why do these words sound so nasty?
So Wolf, much like Dennis, was preoccupied with the donut, but eschewed with the eclair. Despite adamantly identifying as hetero, and I see we're cutting in some Letterkenny here, so beautiful.
I got a question.
Nope.
It's of the personal varieties.
There's such a thing as too much butt talk, and a fella ought to be fucking aware of it.
You guys ever do that? You ever take the dirt road home? No, that's not home. That's a garbage dump, sir. Yeah, whatever. You likes what you likes, I guess. Couldn't be me, though. Unlike Dennis, Wolf had been able to talk his way into many a lady's poop chute. He was a more conventionally attractive, although a short king, he looked like a pocket-sized David Duchovny. He didn't waffle between unbridled lust and religious zealotry. He was much quicker to make a move, and when he made his move, he did it without hesitation or shame. If the answer was no, he moved on without kicking up a whiny-ass fuss, although the suggestive comments often persisted. If the answer was yes, well, some sort of sodomy would ensue. Yes, just some brand. We can't say quite which, although there's one that he absolutely prefers. OP continues, why do I, a meager fly, side-eye straight guys who prefer the brown eye while letting the gay guy butt ride slide? Well, I'm not entirely sure. I think perhaps it feels disrespectful to the V. I mean, that's probably part of the thrill, isn't it? And the straight guys who want the booty all seem to be super obnoxious about it. Somehow far more obnoxious than the gay guys who shrug it off or pick an alternate intimate activity or simply admit that they're not a good fit if one person isn't willing to switch it up. At least this is how it seems to me based on the conversations that I've overheard. Yeah, a little bit of anecdotal evidence, but we totally allow that to float. And having also grown up in California, I can mostly concur. Certain gay dudes can be super obnoxious, but I think you know the ones that I'm talking about. Anyway, let's get back to getting to know Wolf. So aside from butt blasting, he also had very odd mannerisms. Wolf was a white boy who obnoxiously used AAVE. Is anybody else old enough to remember Seth Green's character from Can't Hardly Wait?
Yo, I gotta have sex tonight.
I'm so glad I missed on that movie. It's Malibu's Most Wanted before Malibu's Most Wanted. The proto-Malibu's Most Wanted. No, thank you. There's probably some other stuff in it, but from the 30 seconds I've seen, Imagine a shorter, darker-haired, slightly more conventionally attractive version of Special K, which is, I guess, that guy. And that brings me to another bit of supreme awkwardness. Remember when it was socially acceptable to refer to neurodivergent or intellectually disabled individuals as special? Well, it still is in the Philippines, by the way. Well, the spring stage had several neurodivergent, at the time special volunteers who helped out in the box office, handed out programs, painted sets, and sometimes acted as stagehands. One such volunteer was a young man named Fernando. Most of the people at the spring stage called him Nando, since he thought that name sounded cool. A few bullies called him Fernandodo. We'll call him Nando because we're not assholes. At least not without reason. And if it's confirmed that you are indeed a special individual, we give a little bit of extra leeway there. So, Nando had Down syndrome. Oh, that's awesome. Like the few Down syndrome people I met have always had a really sunny disposition. I love them. There probably are some asshole Down syndrome people out there, but I haven't met any so far. So Nando was in his mid-20s. His mom helped with the costumes, which was how he got involved with the theater, and he was all around a really sweet guy. He was usually the first to offer help, and he was legitimately competent as a volunteer. He'd memorized the layout of the theater, he loved painting sets, and he was that kid that always came in clutch with wise words of comfort when somebody was having a bad day. What a badass. I want to give Nando the Arnold voice when it comes to it. Nando was also gay. This in and of itself is not even remotely an issue. Everyone supported Nando's advocacy for neurodivergent members of the LGBT community. Perhaps more importantly, Nando was one hell of an amateur detective. At a young age, his mom had told him that he shouldn't be so trusting of people, but then he'd get in trouble and it came off as rude when he tried to be wary, so Nando took it upon himself to try and find a way to sniff out bad intentions while still being kind to the honest, upstanding people. He didn't always get it right, but that level of self-awareness is admirable. Hell yeah, dude, he's doing his best with the hand that he was dealt. You gotta admire that. He's got some get up and go in him. So now that we've met the people who will be featured in the sordid parts of the story, be prepared to meet Dion, Sheila, Hud, Jeannie, Walter, Chrissy, and Claude. Dion and Sheila are besties, Walter and Chrissy are besties, and Walter has a crush on Claude who ends up liking him back. Woof idolizes Hud, who finds the butt-blasting white boy obnoxious and tries in vain to wrangle him. Hud's also the kind of tough guy of the cast, protective of the ladies and quick to put creeps in their place. But whether they were leads, supporting characters, or nameless tribe members in the show, all these people are supporting players within the context of this tale of many, many varieties of ick. Yeah, we like that. Unfortunately for all these theater nerds who would love to be featured in this story, their ability to adhere to the strict social contract generally relegates them to the background in a story of this nature. Well, that's just the price we pay for being normal human beings, isn't it? I nevertheless want to take a rare moment and shine that highly desired spotlight on the bulk of the cast to remind the readers and listeners that only 4 individuals acted like maniacs. It's kind of what I tried to point out at the beginning, isn't it? Opie says, I'm choosing to write about this particular production because having 4 stone freaks involved with a single show is highly, highly unusual. The rest of the cast members might have been loud and gregarious, perhaps a little too sexually free. Perhaps they had immature senses of humor. Well, I'm definitely guilty of that last one at the very least. But all of these people did indeed bathe, followed Kip's directions, stayed in their own lanes, culturally speaking, treated neurodivergent people with respect, and avoided harassing those who had turned them down romantically. They also didn't present themselves as fans of the tiny mustache man. It's a bad foot to start off on, honestly. Theater people may seem weird to those who don't encounter them often, but the vast majority are good eggs. Yeah, it's like band kids. Actually, I think band kids are more like lawful evil, and then theater kids are chaotic good. I understand chaotic good. Raging horn dogs like Scumbanger are not exactly uncommon, but they are the exception. Well, the exceptions are what I want to hear about. Normal people? Oh, that's nice. Go home to your fucking kids. Tell me about some freaks. Anyway, 4 weeks to opening night. Nasty Norman and the N-bombs. Oh no. Not even Wolf tried that one. Let's begin our story about 1 week into rehearsals. Most of the cast members already knew each other from previous shows or through the relatively small theater grapevine. One of the few fresh faces of the cast was Thomas. He stank hideously during the audition, but the more forgiving hair hopefuls chalked up the stench to, just the anxious sweats. They were mistaken. Thomas firmly believed that deodorant would ruin the laser hair removal he was having done on his armpits, and that frequent showers would strip away his skin cells and result in a terrible rash. Are you just making this up, or had he actually experimented with it? There's really no excuse. I need you to do something, like only performing on outdoor stages, and then you just pray that you're not fucking downwind. He already had several rashes and oozing sores, so he didn't want to compound the problem. Dude, that, festering bacterial wound. Maybe you cover it up with some bandages, you know? Put some deodorant on the outside of the bandages. There, I fixed it. Problem solved. And as you consider how bad an extremely active man might smell when he only showered once every few weeks or so, also consider that Thomas was a top. No further need for explanation there. On the other hand, Thomas was a staunch advocate of the bidet, although his own bidet apparently didn't work too well, spraying a thin stream of recycled poo water in the general direction of his bum. That is, when it functioned at all. You're also fancy with the bidet. You grab the tabo, right? You dump some water down your ass crack. That's how the Philippines does it. It'll make you strong. So do factor in the vague aroma of skid marks. Thomas also loved spicy food, and the spices he ingested made his BO smell like expired Szechuan leftovers mixed with pit funk and little streaks of hot shit. It was positively putrid. Yeah, curry poop. It smells like a sick people poop. Why is that? It was delicious going in, but it's evil coming out. Aside from the foul BO bubble in which Thomas floated like a funky Glinda, the dude was also braggadocious, brazen, impudent, arrogant, and just generally a bitch. He'd made it pretty far when he auditioned for Drag Race, and he let no one forget that. He had a truly amazing voice and was able to beautifully sing My Conviction despite being a heavy smoker. But instead of graciously thanking those who complimented his performances, Thomas always rolled his eyes and haughtily replied, "Yeah, I know." All right, well, did you know you smell like ass and pit funk? Get the fuck out of my face. He also tried to change the blocking or even alter the script whenever Kip wasn't around. Then he would either throw a hissy fit or melt down into a putrid puddle of sweat and sobs when the cast members didn't listen to his orders. So nobody liked this smelly, sanctimonious Slytherin, although the cast treated Thomas and his stench with varying degrees of begrudging tolerance. I think tolerance is what allowed Thomas to get to the point that he's at. I think at a certain point we need to rein him back in and be like, look, you got a great voice, but you smell like you shit yourself. Oh, right. Thomas was also a fan of Harry Potter, which almost earned him a few friends, until the foul stench and the foul demeanor ran them off. And please allow me to extend my love to the fun Slytherins. Thomas was one of those lazy Potterheads who latched onto the Slytherin label because he simply saw them as mean and sexy. But it seems that the vast majority of self-identified Slytherins are ambitious, clever, and amusingly mischievous. Super cool humans, nothing like Thomas. We had a conversation on the channel before about which house I would fall into, and some people did say Slytherin. But if I was truly as ambitious and clever as people seem to think, then the channel would be a lot bigger as it is. I'd Mr. Beastify everything and only chase views. Instead, I think we're more Hufflepuff. Like, I just want to be cozy. We're making it by pretty good every month, and, like, there's even a little left over to save and whatnot. So, with about a year's deliberation on that question, I am now confirming Hufflepuff. I also played through Hogwarts Legacy as a Hufflepuff. They got the coolest common room. Okay, anyway. So the first week of rehearsals had focused on the music. For the second week, Kip wanted to get into dialogue and character development. When the cast gathered in the theater, Kip announced that there would be a guest speaker before rehearsal began. A bit of commotion on the right side of the theater erupted when Thomas tried to sit down behind Hud, who shooed him away with, "Get your stank ass away from me, Powder Puff." Thomas huffed and swished his way into the aisle. Hud and a few tribe members turned around and ordered the malodorous Margaret Mead to step back 5 paces and keep his arms down. "Yeah, and also you sit down when you pee. I want to see you standing up peeing in here." Eventually the folk was far enough away, and the guys chilled out and began talking and laughing amongst themselves. Kip spoke up. "Need I remind you all that this is a courtesy to your classmates to arrive clean? Bring some extra deodorant with you. Bring a change of clothes if you sweat a lot, and try to bring any complaints of body odor directly to me. I assure you that I will take it upon myself to tactfully address the problem." Thomas stood up in the aisle to which he'd been banished. Kippy, deodorant is super bad for your skin. You need to understand." Kip cut the pong monster off. "That's enough, Tom. See me during the break, and we'll find a creative solution that won't hurt your delicate skin. I'd like you all to turn your attention to a good friend of mine who is here to act as your historical consultant. As we delve into character development, he'll be here to tell you what is and what isn't historically accurate for a hippie in the late 60s. And if any of you are still concerned about the language, he can tell you what 60 speak sounded like too." Yes, our creative consultant is a hippie. Surely he'll be reliable. His brain has not been fried or anything. A few of the cast members provided a bit of perfunctory applause for the guest speaker. Yay, a smattering of indifference. A very skinny, gray-haired man stood. He was neither short nor tall, neither ugly nor handsome. Red vinyl suspenders held up a pair of unremarkable grage slacks. Grage? Is that gray and beige? The suspenders were doing their duty and keeping the skinny man from pantsing himself when he stood, but there was something vaguely BDSM-ish about the red vinyl. Can't you just accept that some people like having a big ReddX on their back all day? The skinny man took a few quick, eager steps, paused, awkwardly pushed his thick horned rim glasses up, turned, and fetched a wooden cane that had been resting against the arm of his seat. He hunched over and began to hobble towards the stage, waving a dismissive arm as Kip offered to help him ascend the steps leading to the stage. The chatter between the cast members began to fade away as everyone watched this strange creature make his wobbly way to the stage. His movements were reminiscent of those that one might see in a high school play where teenagers played elderly characters. Only this man's hobbles and wobbles were not as convincing as the movements of a dedicated theater kid. And although his face was not handsome, it was neither wrinkled nor spotted. This was not an elderly man, and yet it seemed that he was determined to try and appear elderly. Was this meant to be an exercise? The entire cast was confused. The skinny man cleared his throat. "Hello?" He cleared his throat again and said more loudly, "Hello? My name's Norman. Norm, if you like. I'd prefer not to be addressed as Normie." Yeah, definitely Normie you ain't. Kip asked me to act as the historical consultant for this production, seeing as I was about your age during the pre-Nixon debauchery that you'll be portraying. Kip wanted to make sure that you bring some authenticity, which is, sure to be a challenge. Yeah, especially with this guy as the creative consultant. It gave me much displeasure to read over the anachronistic script and absurd lyrics to the wretched songs, although I quite enjoyed Sodomy. The song, not the act. Well, sometimes I do enjoy... He licked his thin lips and locked eyes with Dion. Oh no. Already? You didn't even get past the opening speech! Norman, seemingly involuntarily, emitted a long, low-pitched groan. Sheila began to snicker, elbowed Dion, and whispered, "You've got a fan!" Dion slid down in her seat and covered her face with one hand. Norman clearly lost his train of thought as he continued to groan while he dropped his prop cane and clasped his hands in front of his crotch to conceal an emerging chub. Dude, just flip it up behind your belt. What do you want? Dion had broken eye contact, but Sheila was now watching Norman's body language like a hawk. She quickly recognized why the wannabe codger's hands were clasped in front of him, and she reacted to this realization by screaming, "Ew, he's pitching a tiny little tent!" Yeah, don't nobody want to go camping in there. Kip skipped across the stage, smiled reassuringly at the cast, finally managed to get Norman's attention and whispered something to the wannabe geezer. Norm shot Kip a stern stare, but he eventually cleared his throat again, picked up his prop cane, resumed his hunchback stance, and sighed dejectedly. Kip gave him a little nod, and Norman continued, "Forgive my joke. I did not mean to offend. Perhaps my comedic timing will improve once I observe you kids in action on stage." Yeah, I don't like the way you said that, Norm. This is not gonna go well. Despite Kip's interruption of the speech, and despite Norman's apology for the alleged joke, the cast was beginning to laugh. Some cast members were trying to be polite and stifle the snickering. Others unapologetically guffawed and giggled. Wolf loudly endorsed Norman's enjoyment of his solo. "Hell yeah, cuz! Sodo me!" "Just make sure you don't get locked up, little wankster, or it will be Sodo you." Walter and Chrissy slumped in their seats and leaned on one another, cry laughing at Norman's tiny little tent and at Wolf's overly enthusiastic exclamation. Scumbanger just stared in silent disbelief, but it was unclear whether he was shocked by the spectacle that was Norman, or if he was shocked to find himself looking at a pair of pants that he had no desire to get into for once. Finally, Tomas stood up and brazenly asked what everyone else had been thinking. Honey, how old are you really? Okay, the 1 point for Tomas, all right? Norman's face reddened. Old enough to know what the 60s were really like, sonny boy. Yeah, what year were you born? 1940. Yeah, that's quick math, isn't it? Tomas scoffed. Did you just call me boy? Revenge of the old-ass nerds? Norman sputtered. Are you not a boy? Do you not have a phallus? Why? Are you eager to find out? Tomas took a few steps toward the stage, getting within nose shot of the cast members who'd banish his stank ass. He lifted his arm to flip his palm in Norman's direction, and the cast members sitting downwind of the putrid pit gagged a bit. To the question about having a phallus, Tomas retorted, I tuck, fuckface. Thank you so much. I wasn't actually curious, but we all have that information now. Kip slid off the stage without bothering to use the stairs, rushed to shush Thomas, and motioned for Norman to continue. The majority of the cast found Tomas positively insufferable, but they were kind of on his side, seeing as how Norman had just insulted the show that all of them were so excited to be a part of. Plus, there was just something off about Norman. You don't say. He thinks he's such a good actor that he can LARP as an old man to get a job as a consultant. I mean, he did get the job, but yeah, Kip is seeming more and more like an idiot. Anyway, once Kip had steered Tomas, the walking powder puff of body odor, toward the lobby, the cast began to settle back down. Hud had gotten up to escape Tomas' rancid pit funk and was settling into a seat in the front row next to the seat that Norman's skinny ass had been warming up before he hobbled up to the stage to insult the play in front of all the actors. Hud glanced at the seat and noticed a worn copy of Mein Kampf. Holy shit, this dude's a tiny mustache man fan, Hud cried. The cast responded with a mixture of gasps and giggles. Hud picked up the book and held it over his head, proving to all of them that he had uncovered Norman's nasty, tiny mustache man nature. I mean, it's a book. How are you supposed to criticize ideas if you have no idea what the ideas actually were? But okay. Anyway, because of all this, Norman, having only just rid himself of the unfortunate erection, now needed to defend himself against accusations of being associated with the most hated organization in living memory. I'm not. I'd never. I have a Jewish friend. I only carry that book as a conversation opener. For the ladies, Norman insisted. Yes, strictly blonde women. His free fist clenched, his cheeks rosy. You really bungled that one, didn't you, Norman? Whatever, he's an idiot. He probably thinks it's, like, actually a monumental piece of literature. Much like the Communist Manifesto, it's all a bunch of half-baked bullshit that some guy made up. But regardless of any of that, Hud did challenge Norman, demanding to know why he was even there if he hated the play so much. And he went on to mock the tiny little tent that Norman had pitched, and ended with, "You nasty motherfucker." Wolf refused to pass up an opportunity to try and mimic Hud's speech patterns, even though he kinda liked Norman for liking his song. "Yeah, motherfucker!" Wolf screeched as he leapt to his feet. "Get off the stage, N-word!" Except he didn't say the N-word. Norman sputtered again. I'm all white, and so are you, hippie." This is ridiculous. A few of the black dudes in the cast wrestled Wolf back into his seat. Most of the cast members had worked together before at some point, so Wolf's inexplicable use of AAVE was no longer shocking, but it was worth mocking. "Sit your white ass down! Shut your nasty mouth, butt breath! blabbering indelicately about how much he loved eating butt, had earned Wolf the nickname Butt Breath, among many, many other offensive nicknames. Yeah, it doesn't just give you butt breath, it's also the leading cause of hepatitis. Did you know that? You thought you were having a chocolate swirl, but it's just a viral infection. Meanwhile, Norman shifted uncomfortably, trying to hide his nervous farting. What? While the cast mocked Wolf, smack-talked Toma and his stench, laughed at Norman's tiny mustache man paraphernalia, as well as his unfortunate erection, and once again began talking amongst themselves. Kip returned to find the theater in this state of chaos. What the fuck happened in the last 2 minutes? N-bombs of various natures filled the air. Yes, that's a great warm-up. Unfortunate boners and race hate. Boy, oh boy. OP says, I'm gonna buzz off right here because I feel like it's getting long, but do consider joining me for the conclusion of Nasty Norman's awkward introduction. I'll be here on the wall, recalling old stories, gathering new ones. I look forward to continuing to tell you guys all about the hairy summer. Yeah, sounds like it's getting pretty hairy already, doesn't it? This is definitely a different kind of cringe from the buckets of poop and the stuff we had in the Funky Pea, or the emotional, soul-shattering experiences of Married Mary, where you're just frustrated beyond belief. This is like just, social awkwardness, maybe? Bunch of theater kids trying to LARP like regular human beings. I don't know. It's been a wild ride, is what I will say. I won't defend LARPing as an old person in order to get a job. That's like lying on your resume to the next level. That's like Mrs. Doubtfire levels of fucking zaniness. What are you even thinking? Wolf is pretty cringe, probably the least cringe of them all, I think. He just really doesn't have his own identity quite yet. Who else was there? Kip? Yeah, he's not bad either. He's probably more okay than Wolf. So yeah, Norman and Toma. The two worst. I think Norman is the worst, but it's pretty close. Toma only pulled away from first because he called Norman out on his bullshit. So there's the rankings. We'll see how it changes throughout the stories. Definitely an interesting cast of characters, and now we just get to watch them play with each other's genitals. I hope you enjoyed the story, friends. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like to see more, share the video around. That'd be pretty cool. You could sign up on the YouTube memberships or the Patreon, and I'd appreciate that a whole heck of a lot. My patrons are the only reason we make it a lot of months. So thank you to all of them. Very special video coming out for them shortly. I'm going to aim for Sunday after the live stream. Was that 1 p.m. Eastern time? I don't know if you'll be at church or whatever, but if you're not, show up. It's the ReddX House of Worship. Anyway, thank you all for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the stories. I'll see you in the next one. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy. You definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.